Upon unboxing this machine, my fingertip test suggested that the needle movement dampeners were in good shape. That's not true. This kind of machine has movement dampeners that control the needles, as well as some that control the movable gate pegs, otherwise known as sinkers. In this case, as in the case of many vintage machines, clearly those movement restrictors are no longer doing their job very well, so they need to be replaced. So here come 3 videos, one about going inside and disassembling, removing the machine from the case, reassembling, one on changing what controls the movement of the needles, and this movie will cover changing the movement dampener for the sinkers. It appears to have started out as a piece of spongy material backed with a strip of fabric. I'm putting back a substitute substance from my stash of craft materials. It's a very fine polyester knitted ribbing. It's a little bit stretchy in both directions, and it's actually a touch wider than the machine's channel, but I'm hoping that it'll go in there okay. What I've done is hand sewn a piece of it to the end of the cloth piece that was holding the foam, and I'm pulling it through. My foam is deteriorating somewhat as I pull through, so I'm going to have to clean behind myself, but I've allowed extra length of the fabric so as to let the leading end do a little bit of self-cleaning on its way through. It did so, but also some vacuuming and some picking out of pieces with a dental tool and tweezers was necessary. And it looks like this isn't enough restraint. Both the gate pegs and the needles are still flopping. I do not yet have the right movement dampener in for the needles as of this film also. Fortunately, I have plenty of this blue tape, so I'm going to try a doubled layer, measuring out twice the length of the machine, and then I will sew this one onto the previous run of tape and see what happens. To keep the join as smooth as possible, I'm using a needle and sewing thread and not using any knots, but I am going back and forth in multiple positions and directions with the idea of strength without bumpiness to the degree possible. Now let's pull it through carefully. The end needed easing in with the blunt end of a little crochet hook. It took a couple of tries to get it started, but now here it is going in real time. The doubled strip with the join made it through just fine, and you can see some debris did come out along with it. Because there's a possibility that I've stretched the fabric a little bit, pulling through a strip like this, I like to leave a little bit of extra length. In this particular machine, here's what worked. Folding gently here and laying the excess along here. It has not gotten in the way of knitting since. With both of the movement dampening strips changed, the machine now knits just beautifully. So this stays, but the I-cord that you see here proved to be too skimpy for the needle movement dampener, and another movie covers finding out what does work and getting it installed. Once both of those items were replaced, making this little hat was a piece of cake, and it's the subject of its own movie. You can knit it along with me, and at the same time we will go over a really easy cast-on suitable for the CN9. The cast-on and hat movie and many more Corona skills are on this playlist on the Answer Lady Knits on YouTube.